You are now listening to the Fighting Back Podcast, and here's your host, Tom Fighter.
Welcome back to the Fighting Back Podcast, the podcast where we talk to folks in our legal community who help people stand up and fight for their rights. Today is episode 9, You've Been Served. We're talking to somebody who plays a crucial behind-the-scenes role in the justice system, a professional process server. His name is Kevin Fedotov of LegalServe USA. We've all heard the phrase, you've been served, but what does that really mean? Let's find out today by talking with Kevin. So, Kevin, thank you for being here. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me. Like you said, my name's Kevin, but that's my American name. My name is Konstantin Fedotov. I'm from Ukraine. I moved to America about when I was 10 years old. My dad had won the green card lottery, and my family got U.S. citizenship. So it was my mother, my father, and my little sister, who was 11 months at the time. So we came to America and set roots in the northeast part of Florida, in Palm Coast, where I went to middle school and high school, and then ended up at Florida Southern College. Played lacrosse there, got my business degree there, got a master's there, and while I was there, I had met someone that got me into the process serving profession.
Nice, and I think you have an MBA, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. I have 1/3 of my MBA, but I didn't finish it. I just finished law school instead. I was doing the joint JD MBA program, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop the student loans right here.
Very nice.
So I went into the practice of law. Okay, all right. So you met somebody there at Florida Southern?
Correct. Yeah, it was actually a guy in my Saturday basketball league that had gotten me into it, and I was working in healthcare at the time. I was a project manager for a insurance company, and I just kept getting laid off. The firms would go under. It was actually during the time of 2008, 2009. Things were. I lied. I graduated high school in 2008, 2009. This was around 2012, 2013, and every time I got laid off, this guy would just tell me, "Hey, you should check out process serving." Yeah. And then towards the end of 2012, 2013, I got my feet into it and opened up a business in Orlando.
Okay. All right. Very good. And you're recently married?
Yes, married beautiful Anastasia. She's actually working right now in North Carolina, so I haven't seen her in a week or so.
Okay, what does she do?
Right now, she is working for a family. She's like helping take care of the children, basically, for 2 weeks. So.
Oh, good, very good. Okay, nice.
And then when she gets back, she's going to be serving some papers. So.
Okay, yeah, very good. Helping the family business. I love it, man. I really love that. Okay, so. Process serving, I don't know if it's like bail bonds where, a lot of people, they hear, they know about your job, but they don't know what a typical day is like. So what is it? I know, you work at LegalServe USA, but what's a typical day like in the life of a process server?
Sure. So let me take you back a little bit about what process serving is.
Oh, yeah, you did that presentation. I want to hear more about this.
Yeah, so the history about service of process is what we call it. Dates back, it's got its roots in the Magna Carta, most notably, the right to a fair trial. So whenever someone is sued or arrested in America, they have a right to a fair trial, right? They have the right to call their witnesses in to be questioned, and they have a right to be notified that an action has been filed against them. So back in the days of the king, the sheriff of Nottingham, when the king needed to serve someone for not paying their taxes, he would send the sheriff on a horse, and the sheriff would come, deliver the news, and then rip off a piece of your cloth to bring back to the king, and that was our affidavit of service.
Excellent. Very cool.
So obviously we've evolved since then. We are a completely neutral third party who are hired by the attorney or by the plaintiff or by the defendant in criminal law cases to serve process. I talked about it earlier. There's 4 different types of process servers in Florida. So like us in Orange County, we're part of the 9th Circuit. I get my license through the courthouse, and I can serve anywhere in the circuit. Some counties like Pinellas County are governed by the sheriff. So you take your class to the Pinellas County Sheriff, they give you a license, but you can only serve in the county where the sheriff resides. So in that case, it's only Pinellas County. There's some areas like Volusia County and Alachua County where there are no licensing programs. You guys know whenever you have to send a paper for me to serve in Volusia, you have to do something called the motion in order to appoint process server, making us a process server on that case only. and the other process server is the sheriff.
Yep.
So
yep, we know that we do a lot of restraining orders, and obviously they have to serve the person at no cost to the petitioner.
Right. So that's called enforceable process. Those child custody orders, the writs of bodily support, injunctions, we are not allowed to serve those.
Gotcha.
We serve typical 20-day summons, 5-day eviction summons, landlord-tenant notices, criminal witness subpoenas, and summons on occasion.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Gotcha. So with, are you regulated by the Department of Professional Business Regulation in the state of Florida?
We are not.
So you don't need a license?
So as you can see here, I'm wearing my license from the Ninth Circuit Courthouse. Basically, there's 67 counties in the state of Florida, and each one chooses to do its own thing. They have one of those 4 options. I said either a sheriff can serve, either a motion and order where there is no licensing. In Pinellas County, the sheriff does the program, and in the Ninth Circuit, it's done by the courthouse, so it's called a certified program.
Okay, interesting. Did not know that.
So yeah, to become
I just always rely on you to get my process serving done.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. All right. Well, great. Good to know. All right. So you already said the kind of cases you typically serve. Have you? You've got to have some war stories or something. Oh, and did you want to talk more about history before I get into that?
Sure. So as far as history goes, private process serving has been around a very long time. You said, are we governed by the Florida Department of the DBPR? Right. We are not. We get our licenses depending on how the jurisdiction works. So here I get my license through the courthouse. The education portion, so we do have if a new process server was to enter the field, he would have to take a 16-hour new process server course, or like I get my license renewed every year, so I only have to do a 4-hour education course. Okay. That course is taught by the Florida Association of Professional Process Servers. It's kind of like our Florida bar, if you will. Okay. They're in charge of some lobbying, for process servers. They're in charge of the violence against process servers. They're in charge of legislative and the educational portion of it.
Violence against process servers, that stood out to me in that list of things. So have you ever had any kind of experiences with that?
So the short answer is no. I've never been attacked by anyone. It's been pretty close. Okay. I have been bit by a dog, which feels like it was violence. It was a little baby German Shepherd, but he was pretty big, and it was actually when I first got started. I pulled up to a house, and generally, like whenever you guys send us a paper to serve, right? It's a subpoena or a summons, whatever it is. Right. That's all we know about it. There's typically not a photo. There's no schedule, so. What the office does is they put a field sheet on there for the guy in the field. For example, it'd be me. Okay. So we call it the field sheet. So I pull up to a house, and all I have is a field sheet with Tom's name and address on there. Right. Nothing else. Whatever happens after I knock on the door is, it's up to being able to talk to people, to communicate effectively. Some people are going to say, "Get off my porch." So it's very important to quote unquote effectuate service. So, if I knock on the door and a man opens the door and the papers are for a man named Tom, I'm going to ask for Tom. Mm-hmm. Tom's going to say, "How can I help you?" I'm going to say, "Hey, I'm Kevin, process server." You've been. I rarely say you've been served, but
sorry to cut you off. What do you typically say?
So. What I typically say is I tell them how long they have to file an answer. So with the typical 20-day summons or 5-day eviction summons, I make sure to let them know that they need to file an answer within an appropriate period of time. They can do so by, reading the bottom of the summons that says you have to file an answer. And at that point, if they don't want it, we talked about avoiding service a little bit, right? Yeah. There's case law that says you cannot avoid process by physically refuse it. Right. In the class we teach, in the 16-hour class, we teach this case law. I think it's Haney versus Solon Corp. So basically, a sheriff process server had pulled up to serve someone late at night, to serve a husband and wife. Yep. and they got out of the car. The husband and wife were outside with another person. They asked for them. The people ran inside the house, screaming, "No, no, no." They shut the door. The sheriff process server went over there, identified himself, read the contents of the documents aloud, and left them in a secure and visible location on the front door. And that's case law now for, you don't have to take it. You don't have to, there's nothing to sign, contrary to, Hollywood. You're served. So
yeah. I mean, your due process rights at that point have been fulfilled. You were, apprised of what was going on, and you're trying to knowingly evade it.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. So I guess you can't just leave it there to blow away in the wind. You have to put a rock on it, or like you said, leave it in a secured way so that it.
Yeah, again, every house you pull up to, or an apartment or a condo or a business, is going to be different. So it depends on the situation. Yeah, if there's like a doormat, you try to secure it a little bit so it doesn't blow away or get wet in the rain.
Well, what if you had like a description for a middle-aged guy, and his name was Tom Fighter, but Rocky opens the door, and he doesn't talk to you; he just looks at you. What do you do at that point?
Sure, kind of tough. Yeah. Florida is a great place for us to be process servers because, unlike other states, I believe it's and again, I consider myself a pro in Florida serving rules. But when a paper comes from another state, I don't know their rules. But I know some states like California and New York have requirements that some documents must be personally served. In this case, on Tom only. Florida papers substitute serve a co-resident over the age of 15 years and inform them of the contents. So those are the three requirements to meet effective substitute service.
Great. I had two thoughts. I saw this one movie or commercial or something where somebody was like delivering flowers, and they're like, "Oh, are you Kevin Fedotov?" And you're like, "Yeah, that's me." And instead of giving them the flowers, they give them the papers. Sorry, you've been served with process. I mean, have you ever had to deploy? I mean, maybe this is all fantasy Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, so excellent. It is. In Florida, it is fantasy Hollywood stuff. We are not allowed to deceive people or mislead people into accepting service.
Okay.
I would say 99.9% of the time when somebody is avoiding service, meaning they're refusing to open the door, the Rocky opens the door, doesn't want to tell you anything, and I know it's not Tom.
Right, yeah.
We do wait time, kind of like we're not private investigators. Those guys are in a little bit of a different field. But like PIs, we'll sit on the house and wait for the person to come out. It's the easiest, to get when they're leaving the driveway or coming out or driving back in. And, again, if they don't want it, just leave it at their feet or at the door, wherever they be, and they're considered served.
Okay. We're having fun because I like to have a fun podcast. I want to put good information out there, but I'm sure there are people out there who are like this is deadly serious to them. Like, look, I actually was talking to a good friend last night, and she said, look, I can't get, my ex-husband served, or my husband, because they're not divorced yet. He's over in Egypt. What do you do if you can't get somebody served? And the first thing I thought to tell her was, well, do service by publication.
Yeah.
But how effective is that for divorce or?
Sure. So excellent point. Service by publication. We also call it service by alternative means. Everyone's got a due right to process. The wife has a right to get divorced, and the husband has a right to be notified that he's being divorced. So, I kind of look at it from both perspectives, and I try to do everything in my power to make sure that husband gets notification that his wife is trying to divorce him. So we provide something called an affidavit of diligent search, which involves us running a skip trace on said husband, attempting every address that we have on file for the husband, such as his driver's license, his most current vehicle registrations. We try to see if he has any businesses. Once we exhaust the physical part of actually trying for personal service, we then make phone calls. We send him a message on social media, every social media.
Yep.
And people ask me all the time, Kevin, are you a spammer? I say no. And when I spam people, I say, the typical template email is, hey, Tom, I'm Kevin, process server. I give him my license number. I tell him I'm licensed in the Ninth Judicial Circuit. There's a lawsuit pending against them. Here's the case information. You can look it up yourself on the clerk's website because all that information is public record.
Yep.
So when people say, is this a scam? I say, go look yourself up on Orange County.
Great.
And so we do provide an avenue for the wife to get divorced from her husband if he's fled to Egypt via this diligent search, which then the attorney takes, publishes, and I believe 120 days later, the spouse can proceed towards getting divorced.
Yeah, I've done that once or twice, but years ago that I've had to do a service by publication. So, okay. Very cool. Okay, so I guess what are some things that you think the public should know? Like the average person, do they make mistakes, or should they be afraid of getting process served? Are there advantages to avoiding service? I mean, I'm not trying to teach people how to avoid, but what should the average person know?
Sure. So, like I said, avoiding service in Florida can be tough, right? You can sit in your house all day, but then I'm going to get hired to do wait time on the house. Wait time's expensive. It's going to be expensive for the attorney, and it's going to be expensive then when they try to seek legal, legal funds.
Yeah, because the lawyers and our clients are going to want that money back.
Exactly.
From them. So
yes.
Why avoid it if it's just going to cost? If it's inevitable that you're going to get served, like what's the point?
Exactly. The process server is also going to tell you, look, you have 20 days to file a response. Here's how you do it. People for evictions, I just did a couple today. I know they're inside, they're running around, but they don't want to open the door.
Right.
I don't know if they think that by not opening the door, they're not going to get evicted. My part's done. I went there two times, 6 hours apart, and I posted it in accordance with the Florida statute. So they, by them failing to open the door, they didn't get the. And again, I don't offer people legal advice, but I do tell them, you have 5 days to file an answer, or the sheriff's going to come here and change the locks and take your stuff out. Okay. So it is very important.
Yeah. I mean, it's serious stuff.
Yeah. It's evictions, it's foreclosures, it's divorce. You guys practice criminal law, right? When someone gets arrested, they come to you, and then it's up to you guys to depose everyone, right? So
co-defendants, witnesses, people who don't want to testify.
Yeah. So
Sure.
Florida statutes also have a nice provision in there about these criminal witness subpoenas, because, like you said, the witnesses in felony crimes do not want to show up and testify, right, when they saw their neighbor or whatever it is. Yeah. So those are one of the documents that we can post, just like the evictions, after meeting certain requirements.
Nice. Have you ever thought about, or do process servers ever wear body cameras?
The sheriff, so every sheriff is different. Every county does differently. The educational agency does not authorize us to wear body cameras. I know some people do.
Okay.
My stance is that if I'm recording someone when I'm knocking on their door and they open up and they, you don't know what's going to be on the other side of the door. They may have a child, run around naked, or so we typically have dash cams and just point them at the doors so they can see kind of what happened.
Yeah. Is it like Amazon too, where you'll just take a picture of the,
Yeah, whenever we post it, especially in evictions, we'll post it and we'll take a photo of it, because sometimes these tenants will take it off and put it on the next door, and the next door will come and they'll call the lawyer and say, hey, your guy posted this on the wrong door, and they'll make me come back out. But
that's crazy.
Not when you have a photo.
That's
so
interesting, man. That's just, I mean, look, I guess desperate people do desperate things.
Yeah.
So, okay, Rocky, anything you can think of? Kevin, I mean, we're at the 17-minute mark. We try to keep these short and sweet, but educational. So give us some more knowledge, man. What else, can you teach us about the service?
Wanted to talk about sending Florida papers to another state to serve.
Because we get that a lot with people in Georgia, or if they move.
Happens all the time. There's corporations that are doing from out of state, doing business in Florida. Whenever you serve someone at a state, some states have requirements similar to the motion and order in Florida. Okay. Had it happened to I'm sure it's someone we know. They served someone. They went directly to the process server. They called the guy in North Carolina or whatever state it was, and they said, hey, they went around the Florida process server to save a couple of dollars. Well, the North Carolina process server doesn't know Florida rules. So it's very important to contact the local guy who knows Florida statutes, because that process server served the documents properly. He served it in accordance with North Carolina rules, but he wasn't appointed by motion and order, and he didn't do the process server endorsement, which is required in Florida. I don't think we talked about the server endorsement.
No, what does that mean?
So a lot of times, Hollywood, again, I'm not signing for it, right, Tom?
Right.
I'm not signing for it. You can do whatever. There is nothing to sign. People don't understand that. 4 things are required of the process server. So whenever I serve someone, I put my initials, my ID number, the date and time of service. Those 4 things go on the first page, and that document is left on the floor, and that's considered valid service. So in North Carolina, their requirements are different. They don't have to put the server endorsement. So by him not endorsing it, that guy got an attorney and they filed a motion to quash, and the service was tossed out because...
So they can't move forward with the lawsuit because they haven't been afforded due process.
They had to redo everything, and that happens a lot. Valid service is very important.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I guess we'll leave it there, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about process service and your industry.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful or informative, don't forget to follow us on social media and share this podcast with your friends. Like, follow, subscribe so you never miss a show, and help others know their rights by spreading the word. Your support helps us keep fighting back. The information provided in the Fighting Back podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as legal advice. Every case is unique and should be reviewed by a qualified attorney who can provide guidance based on the specific facts and circumstances of your case. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship with Fighter Law or any of its attorneys. If you are facing any legal issue, we strongly encourage you to consult with a licensed attorney directly.